Plugging into adventure ever since 2005, or 2006 if you live outside of Japan, Chibi Robo is a game series which has developed quite the fan following over the years. While not quite reaching the same cult notoriety as other GameCube classics like Pikmin or Super Monkey Ball, this tiny robot has cemented a legacy of its own, spanning several sequels on different platforms. For a game that seems cute and fluffy, Chibi Robo surprised its players by containing deep and emotionally resonant story arcs for its variety of characters. From humans to toys to animals to aliens, everyone and everything is a part of this cast, resulting in a wide range of morals. Which of these eccentric and quirky characters are the most good and noble, and which have less than favorable personality traits? Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and this is Chibi Robo Characters, Good to Evil. Before we jump into the list, let's get one thing established. Due to the sheer abundance of characters in the Chibi Robo games, we're only going to be ranking the characters and their personalities in the first Chibi Robo game for Nintendo GameCube, also known as Chibi Robo Plug into Adventure. Now, if you would like us to create rankings for the characters in the Chibi Robo sequels, such as Park Patrol and Clean Sweep, please let us know in the comments section below. With that out of the way, let's extend our Chibi-copters and glide into our list, starting with the most good and working our way down to the most evil. Our gold medal of good goes to the titular robot, Chibi Robo. Created by Citrasoft Robotics, Chibi Robo is a multi-purpose robot who has only one goal in mind: making everyone around him happy. This includes the family members who bought the robot, but also impartial parties such as animals, toys, aliens, and even other robots. Doing so allows Chibi Robo to garner happy points, allowing it to upgrade itself with more abilities and a longer battery life. A toy of few words, Chibi Robo mostly communicates its feels through the use of the yes or no signs that extends from its head. Don't let its limited communication fool you, as Chibi Robo has a big arsenal of skills which it uses in the aid of other characters. Whether piloting a spaceship, becoming a space ranger on duty, cooking burgers, fixing a marriage, or cleaning up footprints, this little robot does anything and everything for the sake of helping others. You might chalk that up to its programming rather than a real moral compass, but that doesn't negate the good Chibi Robo does for everyone. For all these reasons, Chibi Robo earns all of our happy points and is awarded the gold medal of good. The silver medal of good is awarded to yet another robot, Giga Robo. Before Citrasoft Robotics started producing Chibi Robos throughout the world, they were hard at work making Giga Robos, companion robots which required 1,000 times the energy to power than a Chibi Robo. This eventually caused an energy crisis, leading to Citrasoft to cease production of their original robot in favor of the smaller and less energy-reliant Chibi Robo. Years before purchasing Chibi Robo, the Sandersons had a Giga Robo of their own, who acted as the family's companion. One night, Giga Robo saved the spaceship of tiny aliens from crashing into Earth, leading to the aliens to grant Giga Robo 3 wishes. Giga Robo wishes to give the toys in the Sanderson house souls, which the aliens happily do. After this, the aliens leave due to having low energy, but vow to return to keep their promise to Giga Robo. Once Giga Robo is powered up again at the end of the game, it wishes to have unlimited battery supply for both itself and Chibi Robo to never cause an energy crisis again. Giga Robo definitely does the best it can to help those in the Sandersons' home, much like Chibi Robo after it. While it's true these robots caused an energy crisis, the blame for that is more on Citrasoft for its lack of eco-friendly quality standards, so we're not docking Giga Robot any points for that. What gives Giga Robot the silver medal is its selfless wishes, resulting in not only a better world for the Sandersons, but also the inanimate objects that now come to life. Chibi Robo's more vocal partner, Television, secures the bronze medal of good. Another creation of Citrasoft Robotics, Television, or Tele for short, is packaged with every Chibi Robo product and acts as the main robot supervisor. Tele shows a great amount of care for Chibi Robo, taking the robot back to the Chibi house whenever its battery depletes. Television also keeps Chibi Robo up to date with his new abilities, equipment, Citrasoft deals, and Chibi ranking. Tele is generally portrayed as cheerful, helpful, and caring, both toward Chibi Robo and the other members of the house. Tele's empathetic, often crying when Chibi Robo gets hurt or listening to the sad stories of the rest of the cast. When it's not upset, Television is extremely supportive, cheering on Chibi Robo with confetti every morning. Tele's only personality flaw is that it can be quite cowardly to the point of sending Chibi Robo into dangerous situations before flying away to safety. This is frustrating when you realize Tele could use its propeller to reach places out of Chibi Robo's reach. Still, when not treating its partner like a canary in a coal mine, Telly is a good-hearted robot that safely secures the bronze medal. Next is Titan, Io, Ganymede, and Little Bang, collectively known as the Aliens. While not much is known about the aliens' homeworld or backstories, as far as we can tell, these aliens mean no harm to anyone while they travel throughout the galaxy. They're saved by Gigarobo as stated earlier, and grant the big robot 3 wishes for saving their lives. They grant the first wish and then leave Earth to regain their energy. The aliens show up again years later to follow through, showing they're honorable when it comes to repaying their debts. Not only do the aliens have to travel very far to make it back to Earth, but the atmosphere of the planet causes them to overheat, showing they're also willing to put themselves in danger in honor of helping Gigarobo. While they may be mysterious beings, the aliens clearly carry a strong code of honor when it comes to repairing their debts, which is the main reason they rank so highly on our countdown. Dancing into our next spot is Funky Phil. Chibi-Robo first encounters Funky Phil after freeing him from being trapped behind the window blinds in the Sandersons' bedroom. Upon release, Funky Phil carries out his true passion, which is to dance. Somehow, Funky Phil's dancing inadvertently makes him produce his offspring when seeds fall off of him. While reluctant to accept his role as a parent at first, Funky Phil eventually warms up to the young Funky Phillies and teaches them how to dance. Funky Phil is always portrayed as upbeat and cheerful, radiating positive vibes to all his friends and family. When Funky Phil apparently dies later in the game, Dinah and the Funky Phillies hold a concert for his funeral, proving that the other toys care about him. Funky Phil's only real flaw is his initial reluctance to be a father, but considering how abruptly that happened, we can't totally blame him for his reaction. The amount of positivity Funky Phil brings to this game is more than enough to secure him as one of the most good characters. Below his father, we have Funky Phil's strangest son, Freaky Phil. While Funky Phil had several children over the course of the game, known as Funky Phillies, Freaky Phil is the only distinct member of his siblings. He's taller, has a different color palette, and talks in a very scratchy voice, leading the other Phillies to reject him at first. Despite his weird look and voice, Freaky Phil is shown to be even more dedicated to dancing than the other Phillies, or possibly even Funky Phil himself. He sneaks away at night to perform the Drake Redcrest pose for their concert, which he eventually accomplishes with the help of Chibi-Robo. This causes the other Phillies to gain respect for Freaky Phil and allow him to lead their dance troupe during Funky Phil's memorial. Even as such a young plant, Freaky Phil shows a lot of heart and dedication, which makes us really respect this bizarre dancer. Get on your frog suit because Jenny Sanderson is next. The 8-year-old daughter of Helen and George Sanderson, Jenny was, according to her, cursed by an evil frog wizard before the events of Chibi-Robo, leaving her to only communicate in frog noises. Once Chibi-Robo dons a frog outfit, Jenny's able to communicate with him regularly. She assigns Chibi-Robo the task of finding frog rings which will break the spell. While Jenny sticks by her frog wizard story, it is hinted out throughout the game that she does actually know how to communicate in her native language. The frog persona she dons seems to be more of a coping mechanism for her parents' rocky marriage, which makes us feel a lot of sympathy for her. Jenny is not a perfect child, as she often leaves a lot of trash around and scribbles crayon markings throughout the house, both of which are subsequently cleaned up by Chibi-Robo. It should be noted that Jenny's character has a lot more development in the sequel, Chibi-Robo Clean Sweep, which follows her story as an adult. However, since we're only talking about the first game on this countdown, we're only ranking her actions as a child. Even so, Jenny's a cheerful, optimistic, and loving young girl, even when she's only speaking like a frog. Strike your poses for Space Hunter Drake Redcrest. Drake Redcrest is a toy based on a character from a popular anime series watched by George Sanderson. Performing his duties in the name of true justice, Drake Redcrest often patrols around the living room of the Sandersons' house at night, making sure the family is safe from the dangers of evil. Drake Redcrest sees potential in Chibi-Robo as a fellow space hunter, so he gives it a costume and teaches it the Space Hunter code and how to pose. Drake Redcrest is shown to jump into action at a moment's notice, which is both a good and bad attribute. It's good because it shows how passionate and dedicated Drake Redcrest is to his job, but it also leads to Drake Redcrest to be impulsive and act without thinking. A great example of this is when he tries to attack the aliens even though they mean no harm. He may not be the brightest hero, but he's certainly a well-intentioned one at the end of the day. Next is the blue mummy toy, Mort. While a romantic at heart, Mort is really shut away and depressed due to his deep-rooted insecurities about his physical appearance. Mort is in love with Princess Pitts, who always faints when she sees Mort, sending the mummy into an even deeper depression. Over the course of the story, Mort attempts to win Princess Pitts with several romantic acts. He eventually succeeds protecting her from the toy bear Sunshine, who attempts to destroy Princess Pitts' castle. He He's both a loving partner and father, demonstrated at the end of the game when Mort and Princess Pitts have children together. He may not look or act like a hero at first, but Mort's true nature shines throughout the game. Sailing into our next spot is Captain Plankbeard, a shipwrecked wooden pirate of the air. Captain Plankbeard typically spends his time in the basement of the Sandersons' home with a deactivated Giga Robo. When Chibi Robo returns Plankbeard's lost ship and recruits a crew for him, Plankbeard goes searching for treasure and gives some of his treasure maps to Chibi Robo. While Captain Plankbeard is portrayed as impatient, forgetful, curt, and possibly a drunk, his softer side often comes out in a lot of situations. Out of all the toys, Captain Plankbeard is the most emotionally invested in the current state of Giga Robo and is the most overjoyed when the big robot regains its energy. He doesn't want to steal anything from anyone either, which is an interesting code for a pirate to follow. Captain Plankbeard is definitely rough around the edges, but has a heart of gold, or wood, which is why this pirate ranks among the moral characters in this game. Up next, we have Mort's object of affection, Princess Pitts. Appearing in Jenny's room, Princess Pitts is not the deepest character in the game due to her storyline mostly being told from the point of view of Mort. She is friendly toward Chibi Robo, and later Mort when the mummy eventually wins her over. Princess Pitts is also easily frightened, often fainting upon seeing Mort or Chibi Robo in its ghost outfit. She's also terrified of getting dirty, refusing to leave her castle upon losing her shoe. Princess Pitts eventually overcomes this trait and becomes braver throughout the game. This at least shows that Princess Pitts is dedicated to self-improvement, which is a great trait to have. All this, as well as being a loving mother and romantic partner later on, grants this princess a respectable position on our countdown. Next is Dinah. Dinah and Chibi Robo initially get off on the wrong foot, as she attempts to eat the small robot, only for her teeth to fall out when biting down on metal. After this encounter, she drops her intimidation act and becomes much friendlier with Chibi Robo and Telly, and shows off her more jovial personality. Much like Funky Phil, Dinah is fun-loving and quite humorous, always wanting to cheer up those who help her. She sympathizes with Freaky Phil whenever the young flower is practicing alone at night, and is the most emotionally distraught when Funky Phil apparently dies. Dinah has a big heart, but we're docking a few points since her caring nature doesn't extend to frogs, which Dinah apparently enjoys eating. Despite the morbid characteristic, Dinah has enough redemptive qualities for us to see that she's ultimately a good-natured block dinosaur. Next is Sophie, the chew toy of the Sandersons' dog. Sophie spends most of her time writing in her diary about how much she loves Drake Redcrest. Sophie has the personality of a shy and awkward teenage girl who's easily frightened and very emotional. She doesn't interact very often with the other toys, preferring her own privacy and using her diary to express herself. Her obsession of Drake Redcrest verges on the unhealthy side at times. She will often faint if Chibi Robo poses in the Drake Redcrest costume in front of her, showing she's overwhelmed by the sight of even its costume. While kind of having a one-track mind, Sophie is very friendly and kind to Chibi Robo and Telly, and is willing to confide in them about her feelings. She may not be the most selfless or outgoing character, but Sophie's general demeanor lands this chew toy a strong spot in the good category. Hopping on to our next spot are a couple of frogs named Fred and Frida. When Chibi Robo meets Fred and Frida, both are in need of help from the tiny robot. Frida lies dehydrated in the Sandersons' yard, leading Chibi Robo to spray her with water for her to regain energy. Meanwhile, Fred lies injured in the Sandersons' bedroom after being attacked by Dinah. After saving both amphibians, Fred and Frida award Chibi Robo with a frog suit, allowing the robot to speak with Jenny and perform a rain dance to keep both frogs hydrated. Fred and Frida are both thankful and helpful toward Chibi Robo, showing that the robot's good deeds are not gone unnoticed. However, these frogs are not exactly portrayed as the ideal couple, best demonstrated when Frida scolds Fred for getting himself injured inside the house. This brief lack of empathy aside, Fred and Frida are still good-natured frogs overall, and a welcome addition to Chibi Robo's diverse cast of characters. Next is the mother of the household, Helen Sanderson. The more sensible of Jenny's parents, Helen is much more budget-conscious than her husband, who likes to spend their moolah on toys. She initially resents that her husband bought Chibi Robo, as it burned a hole in their pocket financially, which is understandable. Despite this, she still gives her respects to Chibi Robo for the robot's helpful nature and develops a friendship with it over the course of the game. While friendly and caring toward her family and Chibi Robo, she does have a breaking point, seen whenever she locks herself in her room and demands a divorce. Given her husband's frivolous spending habits and the fact that her daughter only communicates in frog croaks, we aren't holding this emotional outburst against her. What does knock her a few points is the fact that she blames most of the family's woes on those around her rather than taking responsibility. A flashback in the game shows she very much spent money on toys like her husband, proving she is not totally blameless in their financial situation. Despite this, Helen is loving and sympathetic in terms of her story and character development, so we can't rank her any lower than here. Next are the Free Rangers. With the exception of Sarge, who we'll get to a little later, we're ranking all the Free Rangers together, as they tend to demonstrate similar personality traits. The names of the Free Rangers are based off of real locations including Vegas, Tex, Frisco, Fairbanks, Bama, Fargo, Jersey, etc. The Free Rangers are a platoon of Army eggs carrying out the mission of saving their fellow Free Ranger Memphis from the family dog Tao. While good-natured and friendly for the most part, the Free Rangers tend to shoot first and ask questions later, demonstrated by their initial attack on Chibi-Robo. Once they realize Chibi-Robo is not an enemy, they let the robot train with them in taking down Tao. Later on, a few of the Free Rangers leave their army to pursue their own passions, whether that be piloting a spaceship, joining a pirate crew, or playing chicken with a hot rod. They may not be the most intimidating soldiers, but their big goofy smiles are contagious, and they learn to be more accepting throughout the game, even forgiving Tao and seeing the dog as an ally. Rounding out the good character is Kid Eggplant. While not the most prominent or important character, Kid Eggplant does have a memorable presence, mostly stemming from having the same character design as Eggplant Man from Wrecking Crew. Between these two characters and the Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus, we're willing to bet someone at Nintendo has a fascination with eggplants. Getting back on track, Kid Eggplant was hiding in a treasure chest buried in the Sandersons' backyard. Upon being unearthed by Chibi-Robo, Kid Eggplant rewards the robot by turning it into an eggplant. Not thrilled with this gift, Kid Eggplant turns Chibi-Robo back to normal and awards it with the Super Eggplant, which Chibi-Robo gives to another character. After this brief encounter, Kid Eggplant disappears and is never seen again. Not much to be said about this character, but since Kid Eggplant's only act helps our protagonist, he manages to secure himself a spot in the bottom of the good category. That covers the good, so let's Chibi Blast our way into the gray area. These are characters whose morals are a lot less cut and dry and could be interpreted either way. At the top of the gray area, we finally get to the male head of the household, George Sanderson. While we condemned Helen a little bit for shifting the blame of the family's financial woes onto her husband, we never said she didn't have a valid point. George Sanderson is lazy, financially irresponsible, and somewhat childish, preferring to spend the family's limited resources on toys for himself and Jenny. He's unemployed and spends most of his time on the couch watching TV or playing with his Drake Redcrest action figure. He's very impressed by Chibi-Robo's abilities, often screaming in joy whenever the robot does something he thinks is cool. Despite being overly fascinated with toys and technology, George cares about his family, trying to find a solution when Helen demands a divorce. Near the end of the game, he even breaks down one of the doors in their house to protect Jenny and Helen from the spy doors. We definitely would say George has a pure heart, but his foolish actions and occasionally inconsiderate nature knocks him down into the gray area, albeit at the top. Below George Sanderson, we have a leader who is a lot less passive, Sarge. The drill sergeant for the Free Rangers, Sarge has many of the traits found in prototypical Army captains. Mainly, Sarge is aggressive, loud, condescending, and strict towards his men. While brash and unfiltered on the surface, Sarge later reveals he acts this way as an expression of tough love and cares deeply about his men. He worries that his troops will leave him, which some of them end up doing, with others falling asleep during his speeches. Sarge lost his eye in a fight against Tao in the past, which would contribute to his tough personality. While initially out for revenge against Tao, Sarge learns to coexist with the K-9 and ever befriends him along with the Free Rangers. Similarly to Jenny, Sarge gets more development in the sequel Chibi-Robo Clean Sweep, where he becomes a miner underneath Jenny's kitchen. He leans much more toward the side of good, despite this egg being rough around the edges. Next is Tao. Tao is the Sanderson family dog. He loves chewing on his toy, being fed dog bones, and chasing around eggs. Much like with Jenny and the frog suit, Chibi-Robo can communicate with Tao directly via the use of the dog suit. Tao mostly acts like a normal dog, even when communicating with Chibi-Robo. He's excitable, energetic, and for the most part, happy and friendly. The reason Tao buries himself down into the gray area is because of his actions against the Free Rangers. He captures Private Memphis and scratches out one of Sarge's eyes in a battle. These actions were more done out of natural dog instincts than malicious intent, which is why Tao doesn't rank lower than here. The Free Rangers forgive Tao at the end of the game and become friends with the Mutt. So if they can forgive Tao, then so can we. Next is Jenny's pink bear, Sunshine. Sunshine is difficult to rank because he's unfortunately victim to a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. Sunshine feeds on nectar, which can be given to him by Chibi Robo. If Sunshine goes into nectar withdrawal, the bear turns into an angry monster who terrorizes Princess Pitts at her castle. If given nectar, Sunshine calms down once again and returns to normal. When not going into a fit of rage, Sunshine is generally good-mannered, friendly, and polite to the other toys. We also feel sympathy for Sunshine because he knows he has a problem and he wants to get better. Chibi Robo travels to the past and plants a legendary nectar seed, which blooms 10 years later and finally cures Sunshine. This gives the bear a shot at redemption in the present, and for that, we're thankful. However, since Sunshine's darker side causes a lot of mayhem, we feel it's only fair to include both sides of this character in our ranking, which is why he lands in the middle of the gray area. Next is the unnamed bird. The bird sits in a nest on a tree branch which blocks Chibi Robo's path. Chibi Robo has to wake up the bird using water, feed it cookie crumbs, and then provide it with nectar before the bird will permanently leave its position. While the tasks the bird asks Chibi Robo aren't unreasonable, the bird loses some points for refusing to let Chibi Robo pass until his wants are met. The bird will poop on Chibi Robo if the robot shoots it with its Chibi Blaster. Since this is done in retaliation, we won't hold this against the bird too much. Still, pretty gross. Rounding out the gray area is the hardest character to rank, or describe for that matter, Mr. Prongs. Mr. Prongs is a blue thing in a Speedo with a plug for a head. It's unclear if Mr. Prongs is a toy, an alien, a spirit, or something else. But either way, he lives for sound. Mr. Prongs will grow if Chibi Robo makes a noise with its spoon close to Mr. Prongs' vicinity. If Chibi Robo grows Mr. Prongs to his desired size, then he will reward Chibi Robo with happy points and the Mr. Prongs sticker. The reason Mr. Prongs ranks low in the gray area is because if Chibi Robo fails to grow Mr. Prongs to the size he prefers, Mr. Prongs will drop a wash pan on Chibi Robo's head in retaliation. This makes Mr. Prongs one of the only characters in the game to actively injure the robot for failing a task. With the gray area covered, let's delve into the bad and evil. As a testament to the amount of lovable and multi-layered personalities of the characters in this game, there's only 3 characters we feel belong in this category. The bronze medal of bad goes to the only character Chibi Robo doesn't directly interact with, Ron Brokejaw. Ron is the news anchor for the Fox News parody station, Faux News, which often plays on the Sandersons television. Ron Brokejaw's personality is mostly hidden behind his news anchor persona, but we do get glimpses of him flirting with female co-hosts and displays a really smug smile while on air. We don't see much of Ron Brokejaw outside of his program, so we won't rank him any lower, but at the same time, Ron Brokejaw doesn't seem like the type of person we'd like to deal with outside of his show. The silver medal of bad goes to the lowest ranking toy on our list, the Great Pico. Seen around several areas of the Sandersons' house, most notably the basement and kitchen, the Great Pico spends its time cleaning the souls of Chibi Robo and the other toys. In reality, the soul cleansing he gives is hinted to be a scam more than anything else, as he charges his clients moolah for the privilege of his services. Other toys, such as Captain Plankbeard, criticize the Great Pico for being a swindler. Other toys, such as Sophie, comment that the Great Pico is possibly crazy due to his bizarre pastimes. Chibi Robo gives the Great Pico snorkels and goggles for a scuba diving expedition in the Sandersons fishbowl, so Sophie may have a point. Either way, the Great Pico sees his fellow toys as a source of income more than anything else, which is the main reason he takes the silver medal of bad. The gold medal of bad goes to, in our opinion, the only truly evil character on our list, Queen Spydor. The Spydors are robotic pests which Chibi Robo encounters throughout its adventure. They were apparently created by Mr. Sanderson while he was working at Macroware Robotics Inc. However, the higher-ups of the company reprogrammed the Spydors to attack Chibi Robos for unclear reasons. The Queen Spydor is the leader of these robotic enemies, and is the final boss in Chibi Robo. Not only is this Spydor out to get Chibi Robo, but it wraps the Sanderson family in cocoons during the final fight. When the battle concludes, it turns out that the Queen Spydor was also in possession of Giga Robo's leg, and the final frog ring Chibi Robo needs to find for Jenny. If being a violent monster wasn't enough, the Queen Spydor also was guilty of theft of important items, thus holding back the storylines of both Jenny and Giga Robo. The Queen Spydor is the embodiment of a corrupt company making weapons to take down other robots. That's more than enough to grant Queen Spydor the Gold Medal of Evil on our countdown. That wraps up our rankings, but before we unplug from this list, here are some honorary medals for the Chibi Robo cast. The Darwin Medal is awarded to Captain Plankbeard. While not particularly stupid, Captain Plankbeard is often seen to have selective memory at times, possibly stemming from his age and alcoholism. The Lust Medal goes to Sophie. While a few other characters like Mort are also guilty of being love-struck, Sophie will have an out-of-body experience when reminded of Drake Redcrest. Kinda sweet and kinda creepy. The Greed Medal easily goes to the Great Pico. This toy spends most of its time ripping off the other toys for money, making him a classic scam artist. The Gluttony Medal goes to the Bird, who won't move from this spot until Chibi Robo provides him with cookie crumbs and nectar. Since the Bird blocks Chibi Robo's path, he's one of the only characters whose gluttony prolongs the tiny robot's adventure. The Pride Medal is awarded to Drake Redcrest. This toy takes pride in protecting the family and toys in the name of justice, so much so that he believes his mere pose is enough to strike fear into the hearts of enemies. The Wrath Medal is given to Sunshine, who enters a fit of rage whenever he runs low on nectar. Addiction can be quite the habit to kick, and this pink teddy bear knows it. The Sloth Medal is awarded to George Sanderson, the unemployed head of the household who spends most of their limited income on toys. Buying a toy like Chibi Robo, who does most of his household chores for him, says a lot about his character. The Envy Medal is awarded to Queen Spydor. While it's unclear why Macroware Robotics decided to program the Spydors to attack Chibi Robos, we wouldn't be surprised if it was a result of a disgruntled CEO jealous of Citrasoft's accomplishments. The Queen Spydor is a symbol of that jealousy in our eyes. Alright guys, that's it. Which Chibi Robo characters do you think are the most moral? Let us know in the comment section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite games. But most importantly, stay wicked.